The war beasts of Vraxian Prime did not understand mercy. They understood strength, dominance, and the cold calculus of survival. When Alpha Vrax deposited his 3 cubs at the perimeter of the human military camp on Outpost Sigma 7, he did so without ceremony or explanation. The cubs, Rin, Sarek, and Aisha, were barely past their first molt, their chitinous plates still soft, their claws not yet hardened by combat. General Kale Draven stood at the camp's entrance, watching the massive Alpha disappear into the crimson jungle. The creature moved like a shadow, 8 legs carrying its armored bulk with unnerving grace. Behind him, the 3 cubs huddled together, their 6 eyes reflecting the camp's floodlights with an eerie luminescence. "Sir," Lieutenant Chen approached cautiously. "What do we do with them?" Draven studied the cubs. They were predators, no doubt. Their species had torn through 12 colony worlds before humanity had managed to establish a tenuous ceasefire. But these were children. Abandoned children. "We do what humans do best, Lieutenant," Draven said quietly. "We adapt." The first weeks were chaos. The cubs operated on instinct, hunting, fighting among themselves, responding only to displays of dominance. Rin, the largest, constantly challenged the human soldiers. Sarek, the quietest, observed everything with unsettling intelligence. Aisha, the smallest, possessed a vicious cunning that manifested in ambush tactics during training exercises. Draven didn't treat them like pets or prisoners. He treated them like soldiers. "Again," he commanded as Rin failed to complete an obstacle course designed for human recruits. The cubs snarled, mandibles clicking in frustration. In Vraxian culture, failure meant death or exile. Rin expected punishment. Instead, Draven knelt beside the exhausted cub. "You're using brute strength. Your body isn't built like ours. Use what makes you different. Your legs can grip vertical surfaces. Your sensory organs can detect movement through vibrations. Stop fighting like a human and fight like what you are." Rin's eyes, all 6 of them, fixed on the general. It was the first time a superior had taught rather than dominated. The cub tried again. This time Rin scaled the wall meant for climbing, used the overhead bars as a web to traverse the course, and completed it in half the time of the fastest human recruit. Draven nodded. "Better. Now teach your siblings." Months passed. The cubs grew, not just in size, but in understanding. They learned human tactical doctrine, absorbed lessons on combined arms warfare, studied logistics and supply chains. But more importantly, they learned something the Vraxian Empire had never taught them: loyalty that wasn't based on fear. Sergeant Maria Kowalski spent hours teaching Aisha field medicine. The young Vraxian had a natural aptitude for biology, her precise claws perfect for delicate surgical procedures. "Why do you save the wounded?" Aisha clicked in the broken human language she was learning. "They are weak. They slow the pack." "Because," Maria said patiently, "strength isn't just about who can kill the fastest. It's about who you can trust to have your back. Every soldier I save today might save my life tomorrow. Or yours." Aisha processed this. In Vraxian culture, the wounded were left to die. Resources weren't wasted on those who couldn't fight. But she'd watched human medics run into fire to drag out their comrades. She'd seen soldiers weep over their fallen. It was a different kind of strength, and it was terrifying in its implications. Sarek spent his time with the intelligence division. Captain Torres found the quiet cub's analytical mind remarkable. "You see patterns," Torres observed as Sarek identified enemy supply routes from fragmentary drone footage. "Your people's reconnaissance reports focus on immediate threats. You're thinking 3 moves ahead." "Alpha Varax taught that strength comes from the kill," Sarek responded, his human speech improving daily. "But humans win wars before the first shot is fired. You starve your enemies. You isolate them. You make them desperate. And desperate enemies make mistakes," Torres finished. Sarek's mandibles clicked in what humans had learned was Vraxian amusement. "Yes, humans are patient predators. We thought you were prey because you don't have claws or armor. We didn't understand that your weapons are up here." He tapped his chitinous skull with one claw. A year after Alpha Vrax had left them, the cubs had become something unprecedented. Vraxian warriors trained in human doctrine, carrying human values while retaining their species' natural advantages. Then the war fleet arrived. Alpha Vrax descended from the command ship with 100 war beasts at his back. The ceasefire was over. The Vraxian Empire had deemed humanity too dangerous to coexist with. The cubs were to be retrieved and the human camp destroyed. General Draven assembled his forces. 300 human soldiers against 100 war beasts, poor odds. The Vraxian were individually superior combatants, faster, stronger, more naturally armed. But Draven had spent a year teaching 3 cubs a different way to fight. Rin, Sarek, and Isha stood between the 2 armies. They had grown into their full size now, nearly matching Alpha Vrax himself. Around their thoraxes they wore the banners of the human camp, blue and gold fabric marked with Sigma 7's insignia. "You wear the colors of prey," Vrax growled in the Vraxian tongue. "You shame your bloodline." Rin stepped forward. "You taught us that strength is everything, Alpha. You left us here to test if we were worthy. We learned strength from humans, a strength you cannot comprehend. Humans are weak." Vrax snarled. "They cannot even grow their own armor." "No," Sarek said, moving to Rin's side. "They build it. They build everything. Weapons, ships, societies, they don't rely on what nature gave them. They make themselves stronger through will and ingenuity." Isha joined her siblings. "You left us to die or be enslaved. Instead, we found a pact that values more than just killing. General Draven taught us tactics. Sergeant Kowalski taught us compassion. Captain Torres taught us strategy. They made us better warriors than you ever could." Alpha Vrax's roar shook the ground. "Then you die as traitors!" The war beasts charged. What followed would be studied in military academies for generations. The cubs didn't fight like Vraxian warriors, all fury and individual glory. They fought like humans taught them, coordinated, tactical, exploiting terrain and crossfire lanes. Rin drew the enemy into kill zones. Sarek directed human artillery with uncanny precision. Isha coordinated medical extraction and battlefield triage for both human and Vraxian wounded. The humans, for their part, fought with a ferocity inspired by defending their adopted pack members. When the dust settled, Alpha Vrax lay wounded but alive. His war beasts had been routed. Rin stood over him, claw raised for the killing blow that Vraxian honor demanded. General Draven's voice cut through the silence. "Rin, stand down." The cub paused, 6 eyes meeting Draven's 2. "We take prisoners," Draven said. "That's the human way." Rin's claw trembled. Then slowly, deliberately, he lowered it. "Yes, General." Alpha Vrax stared up at his former cub in disbelief. "You show weakness. You show mercy to a defeated enemy." "No," Rin replied. "I show strength. The kind of strength that builds civilizations instead of just destroying them. You left us with humans to test us, Alpha. We passed, but not in the way you intended. When the Vraxian Empire's negotiators arrived 3 days later, they found their elite war beasts imprisoned, receiving medical care alongside wounded human soldiers. They found 3 cubs, now warriors, who refused to return home, and they found General Kael Draven, who presented them with a simple message. Your Alpha tried to teach his cubs that might makes right. We taught them that right makes might. The difference is everything. Tell your Empire, humanity doesn't conquer. We convert. And we just gained our first 3 Vraxian citizens. The cubs stood behind him, still wearing their human banners, mandibles clicking in what had become their version of a smile. They had been left as a test of survival. They returned as proof that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or tactics, it was the ability to turn enemies into family.